welcome to the episode, y'all. We was over here just jamming a little bit, just a little tiny bit, because we embrace our inner child most of the time.
Right.
Yeah, so welcome back to Actors Endurance Show. I'm your host, Shanette Wilson, and I'm an actor.
I am Marlon Hargrave the Great, and I'm pointing up to the number one podcast.
He's just trying to show his guns.
For the resilient. Oh, yeah, that too.
You know
the number one.
Brother been working out.
Number one.
Brother been working out.
Something.
You know.
I am Marlon Hargrave the Great. Marlon Hargrave.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, and we are Actors Endurance, your number one podcast for the resilient artist, because it takes resiliency. And my favorite word, you must be undaunted in this career. You must be. You must be. Yes, undaunted. So today we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about, Marlon? I always give it to him,
We're going to talk about self-tape versus Zoom.
You thought I was going to say it that time.
Yeah, I really did.
You thought I was going to, I fooled him.
Yeah, I was hanging, just sitting there hanging.
Nope.
Self-tape versus Zoom.
You're listening to Actors Endurance, a podcast that inspires actors to never give up on their passion and find ways to continue to grow within the entertainment industry. My name is Shanette Wilson, and I'm an actress, and my co-host is Marlon Hargrave, and he is a teaching artist. And together, we are Actors Endurance. So self-tape versus Zoom, they're similar but different. It's like the same thing, but not really. So with the self-tape, you have complete control over that. You set it up, you do it as many times as you want, and you're good. Zoom, it's live. You only got one time. You only got one shot. So I would say self-tape versus Zoom. The biggest thing that comes to mind with me in self-tape versus Zoom is in the self-tape, a lot of times you want to be standing up. You have more energy. You're a little bit more in character. Unless the role just calls for you to be sitting down, specifically at a desk, I definitely suggest that you stand up for your self-tapes. And it's just a lot easier because anytime you sit down, you're comfortable. Now, in the self-tape, you don't have the pressure of, looking at the casting director or getting feedback from anyone. You can do it a million times if you want to. Now on Zoom, I suggest you sit down because you're going to be more comfortable, and you won't get so comfortable to where you lose your energy because of the simple fact that guess what? You're live in front of somebody. So you're definitely not going to be so comfortable that you lose your energy and you're kind of going through the motions. Oh no, you will be on your game. So I would definitely suggest for self-tapes, stand unless the role calls for you to sit down. But for Zoom, you want to sit down in a comfortable chair, something that has a little bit of movement just in case, so you don't have to start it right here. You might have to, if you're in different rooms, you can kind of cheat and, since you can't move very much because you're in a very small space, but you can start to the side and turn your chair around, making it seem as if, it's the subtleties, as if you went from one place to another. Also, when you're in a Zoom, you can use your frame. So you sit back. If you want to be more intimate, you'll come a little closer, switch sides of the camera. But remember, when you raise your voice, you want to be back here. When you lower your voice, you want to be up here. That's my tip.
Yeah. No, that's actually right on point. Because of COVID and everything else that's happened recently, or any kind of shutdown, or the industry has seemed to adopt this. Now, they were doing self-tapes a while ago. I was living in an area that was considered an out-of-market area, so they had to do self-tapes because they weren't really accessible to the casting directors and agents and things like that. So with the self-tapes, now Zoom is a little bit different because Zoom kind of replaced actually going into an audition, standing on your mark, and delivering your performance. So the rules have kind of changed, and I know that there are professional actors who don't like self-tape and don't like Zoom even more. It actually breaks rules. So in a self-tape, um, I think one of the biggest things to pay attention to are the instructions. They are very, very, very specific. You can't just look at one and say that they're all the same. Trust me when I tell you, all the way down to your format, your framing. Shanette said that they want you to, pretty much you should stand up. Yes, but there's framing within that standing up. Some people tell you we only want this, or we want a mid shot, or we want a stag shot. So, and in the self-tape auditions, you have to slate your name, and there's a lot of other things that you have to do within that. Mm-hmm. With the Zoom, you're right there. You're there in their face, so you have to deliver everything on your pretty much your computer screen. I think that one of the major differences is one you're going to shoot on a camera phone, the other one you're going to do on a computer. I would recommend that if you're going to do a Zoom, do it off of your computer.
Yeah, some people do it on their phone, and I do understand because, again, we have these big phones nowadays, but it's much better on either a computer or a tablet. And, of course, the phone is never like this. It's always like this, sideways. The tablet as well. So the phone and the tablet will always be sideways. But yeah.
And that's your landscape, not your portrait. For anybody who's a little technical out there.
Message.
Yes. There are differences in your backgrounds too. So in a self-tape, you pretty much want to have a self-tape background. What do you call it? Not the screens.
Backdrop.
Yeah, you would want your backdrop. And I don't know what's a good color for your backdrop.
The backdrop industry standards are gray, blue, green, depending on your skin tone, and depending on your skin tone, different colors will look better on you. But the biggest thing is you don't want it to be distracting. So you can still use white or black, but you want to make sure your lighting is good, and you don't want anything that's distracting, and you don't want I wouldn't suggest like a really bright color or something that, again, distracting, like a yellow or orange. But yeah, you can definitely, I would say, white, black, blue, green, gray.
Hey, watch out for the bright blues and greens.
One of those. Yes. Nothing bright. No neon, y'all. This is not the time to be like, "Ooh, this is cute." No. Mm-mm. Something that's just, simple. Keep it simple.
Well, the bright ones, and therefore mainly green screen and put in a composite on something. So those are more specialty. But what she's saying is more on the darker side of the blue and more on the darker side of the green. But you definitely want that for your self-tapes. Most self-tapes do not want you in a doorway, or they don't want a plain wall. And oftentimes they'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. So the same thing is true for when you're doing your Zoom. My suggestion is try to have a dark background and very good light so that you pop out on that screen. Mm-hmm. I don't suggest that you do it in your kitchen or anything like that has a lot of distracting things around you. Mm-hmm. I would almost suggest that if you don't have any of that, just pick a plain background for a Zoom. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be, also the difference is that one of these you're going to actually look in the camera, and one you don't look in the camera.
Yeah, so, do you know which one? Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, we're about to tell y'all anyway. Yeah. But so with the self-tape, you treat it just like you do a regular audition. You'll have your camera. They'll say, look off to the side when you talk to the characters. So that's what you do when you're doing a self-tape. When you're doing a Zoom, believe it or not, you look directly into the camera. It's like, you're talking to the casting directors. So in a real audition, you never talk to the casting directors when you're delivering or you don't perform to them. You just perform.
And the self-tape.
Yes, the self-tape is the same thing. You don't perform into the camera. They call it breaking the fourth wall. So the fourth wall is more of a theater term, but it's the same thing. Do not look into the camera unless instructed, or it's a commercial. You know, there are differences. But if you're talking about a theatrical release or a movie, television show, the idea is to look off to the camera, off, and then, you know, but and that's for the self-tape. But for the Zoom, you definitely want to look in the camera, and they're going to engage you a little bit more because it's live.
Yeah, and just a quick example, if my finger was the camera, my eye line would be here or here. Here, here. So you see that's not like way over here, and that's not way over here or up here. You want it to be just a little bit past the camera over here and a little bit past the camera over here, making sure that my face is still completely in frame. A little tip.
Yep. Yep, you definitely want to do that. And eye lines.
Oh man, eye lines. Yes. And we transition right into that. Yeah. Good old eye lines. Get out my brain, Molly. You know, that's what I was gonna say.
Nope, you in there. You in there. I got something else for the eyes.
Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. Let's cheers on that one. Yep. Whoop, cheers. Ooh, little Vitae. We're gonna take a little Vitae sip break. Give us a second.
A&E Vitae. This is Actors and Doings Vitae. This is our life.
Vitae with the A and the E, baby. Y'all see it. Come on now.
Come on, don't sleep on us.
Yeah, we do it too much, but we loving it. Anyway, so yes, so you always want to keep also your camera at eye level. So when you're setting up for your self-tape and your Zoom, you want your camera at eye level. So if I was going to set my tripod up, it would be here. Not here, because you're looking down at me. And then not here, because it's looking up at me. So if it's up here, I'm going to look like this. If it's down here, I'm going to look like this. So you want it right here. Okay, so make sure your camera lens is at eye level. And also your well, I guess we were both going to talk about what were we going to talk about? Oh, good Lord. Okay, so say you're in the scene and you're doing a self-tape and you're talking to, well, we were just talking about rap music, and one of my favorites is Mystical. So say you have Mystical over here, and then you have Meek Mill over here. They're my favorites, right? So if I'm talking to Mystical, and, you know, we're all in the same room. We're all in the same room. Now, let's not get crazy, y'all. In the same room, it's a small room. It's not a huge room, and let's not think ballroom. We're in a regular size room, okay? So, like I said, camera lens, Mystical, what's going on, you know? And then Meek, boom. So, they're right here. You want to put them at a realistic distance, right? So if the camera's here and Mystical's here, I'm not looking way out here because you can tell the difference. The camera picks up everything, y'all. The camera does not miss a thing. So it can be your friend or your enemy, depending on how you use it, okay? So make sure you put the people that you're talking to at a realistic distance. So if you have to be like, hey, where y'all going? Okay, they're obviously far away because you're asking a question and you have to raise your voice a little bit. So they should be way over there. But if it's just like, oh, okay, when'd you get here? They're closer. So just make sure you put your people at a realistic distance, because otherwise everyone's going to know. That's all I got to say about that.
Yep. And on your sight lines, it's sort of the same thing where if you're talking to someone who's a child, you may have to look down. And then you may have to look up here. But she's right. If you keep it here while you're delivering most of your lines, and most of the time you're going to deliver them up, even if it's someone who's sitting down, oftentimes just deliver it like you're speaking to the person and you're speaking to them at eye level. So you definitely want to be aware of that. And pretty much you definitely want to understand the differences of doing something live. It's a little more nerve-wracking when you have to audition live than it is when you get a chance to stop and then go back and forth. So you'll know the difference when you have to do it. We're just trying to ease, that transition, especially veteran actors. I know that that's a little unnerving. Stage actors are really going through it. So be calm. Don't worry about it. You got it.
Okay. And for my final point, this is all I have to say. This is the last I have to say about this. So you're in a really small frame. on Zoom or on the self-tape, subtle movements. That's something I'm still working on myself because I'm all over the place. But subtle movements. You want to be, I think it was Morgan Freeman that says stillness is everything, but it's also the hardest thing. So stillness is amazing. So you just have to, I guess that's all I can say about it. Stillness. Y'all know what stillness means. And yeah, just stop. A little note I have for myself. Stop trying to know your role and be natural. That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm hearing something. Not bad. I've been hearing it for a while. So you didn't hear that?
No, I think you've been.
Oh shit!
Oh
No!
You've been sipping too much vodka.
No! I just heard an explosion.
Oh God!
It must be an atom.
No!
It must be an atom. I think an atom just blew up, y'all. This is an acting tip of the moment.
It's the atom.
These things just keep coming. Yeah. My goodness. All right.
All right, what we got for the people today?
So, our atom for today is comedy versus drama.
Ooh.
So when you are auditioning for something that's comedic or dramatic, just remember one thing: comedy and drama are exactly the same. They share truth, and all you have to do is play the truth. It's either funny or it's not.
Ooh.
It's either so. If you're too big, so if you're too big with it, it becomes slapstick or melodramatic, right?
Yes. So true.
So they're exactly the same. Do not be afraid of them. People are like, "Oh, I'm a comedic actor," or I am a dramatic actor. I'm a classically trained actor, so I know that that there are differences, but it's all in really the timing. But where they are the same is true. Play them truthfully, they will be how they were written.
Yes. Message.
Yep. And with that, we're going to go to the quizzote of the day.
So, my quote of the day comes from the amazing Christian Bale. Now, I think we've already given the quote by Christian Bale, but he's amazing. He has a lot to say, and yeah, he's some great quotes. So, as in, in the medium of self-tape versus Zoom, you gotta laugh at yourself sometimes.
It happens.
Pray for me, y'all. Anyway, so Christian Bale says, it's the actors who are prepared to make fools of themselves who are usually the ones who come to mean something to the audience. See, I just acted a fool and I laughed at myself. It's whatever. So I hope y'all, as the audience, are loving me, and I mean something to you. So it's the actors who are prepared to make fools of themselves who are usually the ones who come to mean something to the audience.
I really like that.
Let that sink in, y'all. Get out of your head. Just roll with it.
That's right. That's why Chris Farley was so revered. They loved, people loved him.
So funny.
Because they knew that everything that he did was just to put a smile on somebody's face. So everything that you do, do it because, or at least as far as this business is concerned, do it because an audience member is depending on you to either make them feel something or smile or something. Yeah. So do your job as an actor.
There you go. Don't take yourself so seriously.
Yes. But do take this seriously, that greatness is a process. It is a process. So hone your skills daily. And that's what we're leaving you with on this episode.
Actors Endurance on all social media platforms. Check us out on the website, actorsendurance.com, your #1 podcast for the resilient artist. And on that note, we'll catch you on the next one.
That's right. A-E Vite, baby.
Come on, you can't spell Vite without the A-E.
That is right. Toast to the Vite.
I'll tell you.
Peace.